Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I'm sharing with you another diary entry. So this diary entry is going to be surrounding my Christmas in July reads. And unlike the previous diary entries, this one is just going to be like a kind of wrap-up style. Since I've already finished both of the books that I'm going to talk to you about in this diary entry, I didn't plan it that way, it just happened to fall that way. And truthfully, I'm trying to change how I do things a little bit on my channel. And I have to get out of that mindset that says you have to read for the full 2 weeks before you can put out a video. And so I read 2 books for Christmas in July. I like to do Christmas in July because I find that once the holiday time rolls around in December, I usually don't have enough time to read everything I want to read. So if I can knock some of that out earlier in the year, that makes everything all the more better. And I could use a little bit of cheering up during the summer, because summer is my worst time of the year. It is very hot. I don't do well in the heat. The sun's out all the time. So I like to have a little bit of holiday feels. Even though I'm still reading it when it's hot, I still kind of get that cozy, Christmassy, cool air kind of thoughts and scenery in my head, so it helps a little bit. So I have finished 2 books. One was an audiobook, one was an ebook, and so let's go ahead and tell you about the 2 books that I read for my Christmas in July reads. So the first book that I finished was my audiobook, and it was called Christmas Baggage. This one is by Deborah M. Hathaway. I borrowed a copy of the audiobook from Hoopla. What I didn't realize was that this is the first book in a series. So the series is called the Christmas Escape series, and this series is actually a series that has 6 books, I think, in it, and all of the books are written by different authors, and they follow different people. And so I really consider this more of a standalone, being that the series is put together in the way that it is. But in any case, this first book follows a woman who has family, but the family doesn't stick around for the holidays. They actually have a cruise scheduled without her. And so she's kind of going to be on her own during the holidays. She decides to follow one of her friends home to England for the holidays, so that she's not alone and to just kind of live a little, experience life. And she has an unfortunate meeting with a guy at the airport, case of mistaken luggage. So their meeting doesn't go very nicely. They kind of get off on the wrong foot with each other. And so she's like, you know what, whatever, I'm not going to let this ruin this trip. So she goes and she meets up with her friend. She's staying at her friend's aunt's house and is set up in one of the rooms, and then finds out that the guy that she had this unfortunate meeting with at the airport is her friend's cousin. So now she has to basically spend the entire Christmas holidays around this guy. And so it's kind of a story that kind of starts off as enemies to lovers, I guess you could say, though I don't feel like they knew each other enough to call them enemies. But it's kind of a really sweet, clean, wholesome romance. And I really enjoyed it. It definitely started off really slow, though. I would say it took a really long time for a couple to finally get together. And then once they did, it was just really sweet. They were both thinking about each other a lot. There were some things in here, though. I had mentioned to you that her family really doesn't spend time, or make time for her during the holidays. This is a kind of regular thing, so it's not anything new. And her parents kind of also treat her not so nicely. Not that they're like abusive or anything like that, but just like they don't include her in things. They don't really think about what she would think about certain things or anything like that. I mean, just think about like how they scheduled this cruise during the holidays and didn't ask her if she wanted to go with them, kind of thing. They're always sending birthday gifts, but the birthday gifts are always a set amount of cash because, quote unquote, they want her to buy something that she would want for herself as opposed to something that they would pick out for her, which kind of, if you look at it from a different perspective, is like they don't know her well enough to know what to get. And I found things like that hit really close to home for me, especially with my relationship with my dad. My dad has always been the type of person to send cash for gifts. And, you know, that thought had definitely crossed my mind over my life that he just doesn't know what to buy me, even though, you know, I did spend a good amount of time with him growing up, and he should know what my interests and hobbies are. And I talk to him about it, you know, when I see him, but he still just sends cash. Or the times where he comes to the mainland and is literally like 45 minutes away from me, but texts me beforehand and says, oh, I want to let you know that I'm coming, but I won't be able to spend any time with you. Yet I am required to spend time with him when I go back home. So those feelings really hit home for me. And as you know from my previous diary entry, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time right now with those types of thoughts in regards to my father at the moment. And so it was kind of uncanny that those things came up in this book, because if you like read the summary of it, none of that is mentioned at all. So I don't know if this book just found me for whatever reason, but I could definitely like feel what the character was feeling when she was going through all of those feelings about her parents, when she had phone calls with them during the story and things like that. But all in all, I thought the romance was really sweet. Like I said, I thought it took a little bit too long maybe for them to get together, but once they did, it was kind of like kick your feet in the air, kind of sweet romance. The story had a really nice conclusion as well. We do get a glimpse of our couple a little bit after the kind of story ends, so kind of like an epilogue kind of section with them, which I always appreciate, because especially when there are stories that, you know, have like a couple that gets together towards the end of a book, you kind of wonder, okay, like, what does their relationship look like further on in the future and things like that. So I definitely had that with this one. I really enjoyed it. And so I'm thinking I'm going to read more in this series. Like I said, they're all written by different authors. They're all following different people. And so I'm looking forward to exploring this one more. I'll probably try to pick up the next one in the series in December of this year. So really, really great find. I was just kind of searching on Hoopla one day, kind of not really knowing what I wanted to read, which is kind of another struggle that I'm having at the moment. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I want to read, but when you think about like what exactly you're going to pick up, I think people at times have, you know, things that they want to pick up right away. Like they know specifically what they're going to pick up, or they go by a TBR. But I'm much more of a mood reader, and TBRs don't always work for me. And so there's always Christmassy books that I want to read, and I always have like a list, but nothing was really calling to me. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to search on Hoopla, because I had some credits left over. And so I looked for some Christmas books on Hoopla, and this particular one stood out. So I'm glad I took a chance on it. and I really enjoyed it. So that was that one. And then the second book that I finished was actually a freebie on Edelweiss. So this book came out in October of 2025. And for whatever reason, it was available as a free download on Edelweiss. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up, because I think it was around the latter part of June that I was looking for things, because I've just recently kind of gotten back into looking at ARCs, kind of trying to see if I can pre-read, get approved for some advanced reader copies. And there's a section in Edelweiss where you have things that you don't have to apply for. You can just download them. And so I had seen this one, and I was like, oh, it was a holiday book. I knew I was going to be doing Christmas in July. And so I thought, this would be perfect for Christmas in July. And so I went ahead and downloaded it. So this one is called The Holiday Mixtape, and it's by Liberty Stowe. So I believe this is the first book in a series, but it doesn't say that on Goodreads. So this story follows a woman who is at this kind of big marketing firm, and she is at the very beginning of this book really gearing up for a huge presentation. And she has her best friend, works at the same marketing place. He actually works on the same account that she's going to pitch her thing to. And so it's like a big old meeting with the top 3 executives, and she's like got it down. Her friend's like, you've got this, very supportive. But she's kind of, I guess you would call it superstitious a little bit. She is one of those people that really believes in their lucky number, and her lucky number is 3. And it just so happens that one of the executives gets called out during the meeting, and like everything goes downhill. Like it starts off where one of them like doesn't spell her name right, and then she starts to spiral, and then things happen, and that her lucky number goes out the window, and she basically bombs her presentation. So they basically tell her to go take a break. They don't fire her, but they tell her to go take a break. And it just so happens that that same day she gets a letter stating that her aunt has left her this like house, and I don't even remember like where the house is, but it's not in the state that she is in at the moment. It's Kentucky. So the house is in Blitzen, Kentucky. And so she's like, okay, this is like the perfect opportunity to get away. And so she decides to go, and the house is beautiful. The town is called Blitzen, right? So immediate Christmas vibes. And her aunt has also left her like this stick shift car. She doesn't know how to drive stick shift, and she ends up running over somebody. Not running over, but like hitting him. And that's how she kind of starts to find out about the goings on in the town. So they're running a food drive for the holidays, and then the town is kind of having a difficult time at the moment because they were inspected and they need to have a bigger fire truck for their town. And if they don't get the bigger fire truck, the town's property taxes are going to increase or something like that. And so they don't know what to do. And this woman is like, this is the perfect thing for me. Like this kind of like event or fundraising is like right down my alley. And so she starts to organize little fundraisers and things, and it becomes a whole town event. And so we kind of follow all of the inner workings of everybody kind of getting on board with this plan, how she becomes like the head of this project, being out of town and everything, her learning about the town and its history, and meeting all the people who knew her aunt, and her relationship with this guy that she had hit with her car. There were definite things I enjoyed about the story. Obviously, it gave those Christmas vibes. You know, the town getting together to work on this project for this big fire truck, people donating time, donating product, her like bringing in other people, using her connections to help make this event really successful for the town. But there were also things that I didn't really care for, and unfortunately one of those things was the romance in this book. So our two characters in the couple, they definitely have an attraction. You can see the attraction. However, the way that they kind of both act towards each other feels very immature for a good portion of the book. Both of our characters have best friends. Like I mentioned, our female character has her best friend from the agency that she used to work on. And they're like so close that they have like this unending Zoom meeting. So like they keep Zoom on. And basically they have each other there all the time. So they talk a lot. And like I said, her friend is really supportive. Well, our male character also has a best friend. And so you can kind of see like how the friends kind of play into the whole story between our two characters. And the friend of the male is actually the person who's appointed to help our female character get settled in the house and like hand off the estate and stuff, because she's also a lawyer. And so we see our female character also, you know, interacting with this other woman and making friends and things like that. But it's like the teasing, I guess, between our two characters up until the point where they finally get together was just really juvenile. I didn't really enjoy them as characters in general. I enjoyed when they were like working on the town project. Like you could see their strengths. But there were times where our male character got really petty about stuff. There's a scene towards the end where I just wanted to kick him in the rear. And there's a point in this story where after they finally get together, the intensity of their feelings for each other is like through the roof. And it was so unbelievable to me. Like, it was almost like oh my gosh, I can't live without them. This is like the greatest love I've had in my life. You know, almost to the point of I would die for them kind of feelings. And literally they've only known each other for less than a month. And they hadn't even been together for that whole time. They were like teasing and bickering and fighting for a good portion of that time. But it's like almost like within the week that they finally got together, it was like, oh my gosh, I'd lay down my life for you types of feelings. And I don't understand that. I do not understand that. It was not believable to me. Plus, at that point when they finally get together, the book got super spicy. Like they were going at it with each other like rabbits. It was ridiculous. A ridiculous amount of sex at the end of the book. And I'm just like, you know, I don't believe in your love, for one. And now you're going at it all the time. And this guy is not even like, I don't know, I just didn't really enjoy him. I didn't like how he was acting. I didn't like how he acted towards our female character's best friend. And it was just, no. No. But that being said, I really liked the people in the town, or most of them anyway. I liked how they all got together. I liked a certain reveal that happens towards the end, which I'm not going to say because I feel like it would be a spoiler. However, I believe that there's going to be another installment that follows the two best friends. So I'm really looking forward to that one because actually, of the characters that we met in this book, I really enjoyed the two best friends. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that book is actually going to come into fruition. I believe it has an October release date. I think that's what the page that kind of announces that there's going to be another installment at the very end of this book says that it's going to be, but I don't see anything like on Goodreads about it. So we'll see if that happens. I did enjoy the friends for sure. There are other characters in this town that I really enjoyed as well. I will also mention that this book does have a kind of a grief storyline. I'm going to tell you how that connects to a character. I don't really feel like me telling you about the grief is going to be a spoiler, because I feel like if I told you how the grief interacted with the story, that would be more of a spoiler. But I'm going to tell you how the grief is connected to one of our characters. So our male love interest is the one that has lost his wife. So he's a widow. And we get his kind of grief journey throughout this book and what had happened to his wife, how his best friend is also kind of dealing with that loss as well. And so, yeah, this one was okay. Like I said, I didn't really understand the intensity of the feelings that they had for each other. And truthfully, based on the relationship that we finally got when they were together, I don't know how long that relationship would actually last. I do feel like they're definitely in lust for each other, but in love, I'm not sure. So definitely had those holiday feels. I really enjoyed the best friends. Like I said, I wouldn't read this again. But if that book about the two best friends does end up coming out, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to go ahead and read that because I did like both of their characters. And so, yeah, we'll see if that one comes out. But that is everything I've read for my Christmas in July theme. I, at this point, don't have enough time to read anymore for my Christmas in July theme because if you know me, you know there is another themed reading kind of thing that I do in July. And so I'm going to gear up for that next. And I'm actually really looking forward to it. But that's all of the talk about my reads lately. I'm glad that I was able to do Christmas in July again. It did kind of lift my spirits a little bit, but I feel like with the Christmas baggage, it definitely hit a little bit too close to home with some of the family stuff. And especially at a time when I'm dealing with that same family member that makes me feel those same kind of feelings, it was just kind of uncanny timing. But I'm glad that I was able to find a new series because, of course, I'm going to find that I'm reading new series even though I'm not intending on trying to start new series. But in any case, as we do with all of my diary entries, and this one is actually going to make sense because we're going to do my Advent opening. So the one diary entry that I do, well, at least one that's out of December anyway, we're going to go ahead and do an Advent opening, which is typically something people do during December. And so I have my number 14 pack right here. Again, this is the Charlie Brown Christmas inspired yarn advent calendar from Stitchin' with Yarn in 2025. So I bought this for 2025 and just never opened it. So all of these colorways are inspired by something in a Charlie Brown Christmas. And this particular mini skein is called Find a Great Big Shiny Aluminum Tree. So let's see what this one looks like. Ooh. Oh. Yes, I feel like this one is even more Ursula than the one in the previous diary entry, but I really, really love these jewel tones. So we've got some deeper purples, a lot more black, some like more aqua leaning blues, some navy, indigo. I'm loving this like orchid purple right here, intermingled with the kind of more pink colors. This one's really nice. And I do think this would go actually pretty well with the last Advent yarn skein that I opened in my previous diary entry. So I think those two would really look nice together. But yes, so this one is my day 14 yarn advent calendar from Stitchin' with Yarn. And then of course we have the Nido Advent. So let's see what we've got for day 14, which is right here. So let's see. Oh, ay. Okay, so this one says Teeny the Whale. And we have a hot pink whale. It looks a little bit more red on camera, but it is hot pink. So this is filled with like a milky substance. It's kind of, it's liquid filled, but it's not completely liquid filled. And it's kind of a milky, yeah, it's a milky liquid. So very, very soft, very squishy. But as I mentioned to you before, I have exploded things like this before. So I feel like this is one that I have to be really, really careful because it has the ability to leak. And so we're just going to put that one back right there. Okay, so that is everything that I have for you for this diary entry. I am really, really glad that I was able to fit in some Christmas in July reads, like I said. It definitely helped with my mood a little bit, especially since as I was reading it, it did kind of start off in more cooler temps. However, as I started getting through the books, the temps kept creeping up and up and up. We are definitely in full-on summer temperatures right now. And so, yeah, I'm glad that I was able to do this theme again. I'll definitely be reading a little bit more, probably Christmas romances or maybe some mysteries if I can find them in the month of December. If you have any suggestions for me, please leave them down in the comments below. Do you read Christmas romances, or do you have a favorite? Do you like to do Christmas in July reading? If so, let me know. Let me know if you've read anything interesting recently. And if nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me a Christmas tree emoji down in the comments below, it would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out. And that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.